Now it's re-recording. Oh, perfect. Recording. All right. Perfect. We're on.
Sweet.
How's it going? Good? You're on
Yeah.
your phone? Cool.
Huh?
You're on your phone?
Yeah. I'm just sitting in the kitchen right now, so
Okay. Well,
just finished up dinner, threw the kids in the bathtub, and hopefully it'll be quiet for a little bit. We'll see how it goes.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm here with Taylor, right? Like we worked together for the last 2 years. We're finally making the podcast happening. Not bad. In a couple of
2
years.
years in the making.
2 years in the making. Cool. Awesome. Thanks for jumping on.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Do you have any topics prepared, or we just roll with the punches or whatever?
I said roll with the punches.
Roll with the punches? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, once we get to talking, we don't stop. So,
That's
we'll
true.
see where it goes.
That's very true. Yeah. So, how's your day today? What do you do? And I'll tell you more about my day.
Built a trampoline.
Okay.
So that way the kids don't go batshit crazy out in the whole quarantine thing right now. So
Okay.
put
That's
that up
cool.
in the backyard.
Did you dig a hole, or did you put it above ground?
It's above ground right now. I
Okay.
can show it to you real quick. Hold on.
Cool. I see it.
Hold on. I don't know if you guys can see it through there.
Ah, okay. Well, I like it.
Yeah.
Pretty big, huh?
Yeah, it's a 15-footer, so
Okay.
it should be good. They don't want to get off it. It was freezing cold out there right now.
Yeah, a little bit. I was in my host family, and then they had like a trampoline, and then they like dig it like on the hole.
Dug the pit for it?
They level to the
Yeah.
ground. So, I mean,
I've seen those. I'm just way too lazy to dig that big of a hole. Let's be honest.
That's true.
Here.
Because if we dig the hole, then it's going to be like, okay, how are you going to deal with the dirt and the ground and whatnot? So.
Yeah. It's keeping it simple. No, I mean, I haven't had a trampoline up since I was a kid, so it's pretty cool, except for the fact that I'm too heavy to play on it now.
What's the weight limit? Like 180 or something?
It's like 250 on this thing.
250?
So you can put like 3 kids on it without much problem, but
they don't
one Taylor is way over that weight limit.
Yeah, and they don't recommend that you go like, multiple people on the trampoline pretty much. So
yeah, but I don't know anybody that follows that rule, let's be honest.
That's true. So cool. Yeah, my day went pretty well. I tried out the Amazon Prime delivery thing. So they deliver like, groceries from Whole Food to your house.
Nice.
And it was pretty good. I got some fruit and veggies and whatnot. I don't have to leave the house. Tip the driver, but that's about it. So okay.
Nice.
Cool.
How's your quarantine been going? Like, I know you've been doing it longer than I have, so.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is, just have something to do. For me, just make sure that I read every day, and then I have something to like fall back on in terms of doing a podcast. I've been pumping out podcasts like crazy so far.
Nice.
I've been drinking tea and, run upstairs and downstairs every day, read books, do podcasts. I play some poker every day in the afternoon, nap, and I cook. So pretty much just keep myself busy. Like so far, like before the podcast, I was diving into the rabbit hole of dog training.
Yeah.
It's
a fun topic. I actually studied dog training when I first got into sales.
Yeah.
And it seems like an odd crossover, but like dog training and people training is pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
And I get in trouble all the time for saying that because people are like, you can't compare me to an animal. I'm like, you are. But
yeah, that's definitely true. So
yeah, but no, it was like a couple of things that I really liked about it was a positive reinforcement versus negative reinforcement.
Right.
Like, if you if all you do is punish a dog, the dog is going to get scared of you, and then it stops responding because it's constant fear.
Right.
But if you reward good behavior, it's going to want to do more of that behavior because it wants the reward.
Yeah.
And people are the same way with that, because, you know, you can criticize people so much, but if you don't give them, you know, something good to go off of,
Mm-hmm.
like, one book that I really like, it's How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he was the grandson of Andrew Carnegie. I
Right.
don't remember exactly, but
Mm-hmm.
he says that people live up to the reputation you give them. So if you're constantly criticizing them, they're actually going to get worse.
Yeah.
But if you praise them, or, you know, help them live up to their potential,
Mm-hmm.
like, they'll start doing it.
Yeah, like I've been diving into like this different, different ways of training. Right, punishment is like taught as the military style of training. We have the reinforcing, right? But when the lore is gone, then the lore is gone, and the dog is not gonna listen to you. So like
Hmm.
this person, I talked to this about this like on meetings, like Susan Garrett, like the dog trainer expert on Tim
Yeah.
Ferriss podcast. So I was listening to her again today, and then kind of like taking notes. And so the way that she do it is she does it by like choice, you know.
Okay.
So everything that the dog wants, you have it, right? So it's more about finding the gap. I have a notes right here. It's more about finding the gap between what do you want the dog to do, which is what I want, to what I got. So make sure
Gotcha.
that like the dog can be there, that can be there. So kind of like, what is the value for the dog by the end of the day, pretty much. So,
Yeah.
and I was like,
That's
okay, cool.
interesting.
Pretty interesting. And there's different games, and there's different things, and tug the color and on different things. So been learning a lot about that. So
Yeah, it's like practicing empathy, but on an animalistic level.
yeah, and the
Which,
biggest thing is I was thinking about getting a dog yesterday, but let's figure out the dog training part first.
yeah. Well, I mean, more power to you. It's not going to be as easy as raising fish, bro.
I know. That's why
It's a
I was
bit more
like,
high
let's
maintenance.
let's work our way there, right? Because like the biggest thing that I do see myself getting a dog, but the thing is that I need something like this where I'm home 24/7, you know, that be able to spend time with the dog, like every day for the first, I don't know, month or two, right?
Yeah.
So seems like the timing is right, but who knows? So we're gonna
Oh, I
dive into a
mean,
little bit.
and it just depends, you know, like, the thing is, like, I'm a big believer in rescue or adoption.
Yeah,
So the thing is, like, with all the animal shelters right now, they're not exactly um thriving with the whole quarantine thing going on.
that's true.
So, you know, it's a process though. Like, it's you got to find somebody that jives with you,
Yeah,
and, you know, and you find somebody that matches your style and your personality. Because I think I see a lot of people do, especially when they're first starting out as pet owners, is they go for the cool breed, or
right.
they go for like the flashy dog,
Yeah.
and they end up with, like, they're a really mellow person, but their dog is like hyperactive,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not a good match. So take your time with it. Like,
True. Like I'm
the
not.
finding a good partner in a pet is, biggest thing.
Yeah, I'm not in a rush at all, right? Like because I was like it was way over my bedtime yesterday. I was going over on top team time. I went to bed like 11:30. I was like, crap. Anyway, um, yeah, like like I have to apply for it, and then they have to be available, and then I have to say, okay, what kind of home do you have, and then all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Like the biggest thing that I'm concerned about is that for this 2 months it's probably fine. I can get them a crate, but it's after the quarantine. Like when I start getting back to work, do I just put them in the yard for the whole day, or how does that work?
Yeah.
Haven't figured that one.
Well,
Yeah.
house training be first priority, but honestly, Kevin, I pegged you as more of a cat person. I'll be straight up.
My mom tell me that, but the thing is that the cat person like I don't like cats, and I have like a teapot, like because I have a shelf now. I'll show it to you in a
Oh
little bit, but
goodness.
I have a shelf, and then I have my teapot on there, and then the cat will just jump on there and then break stuff, and just like anyway.
You'd be surprised. Like, a normal, like, I've only had one cat.
Uh,
Um, back when I was a kid. She was a three-legged cat. Her name was Tripod,
Right.
but original name I know, but
Right.
um, like she wasn't a jumper, and like we had her brother too, her black cat named Salem. My family's awesome with naming cats, and
Mm-hmm.
um, like neither one of them were jumpers, and like we adopted a calico cat
Uh-huh.
from a family that we were living with for a little bit there. We
Uh-huh.
first moved out to Nevada,
Right.
and she used to like climb up the curtains and scratch the furniture, but she got living with us and she became mostly an outdoor cat, and like she became super mellow after that because she had enough room. She was just cooped up. But
Right.
like you'd be surprised, there's a lot of cats that aren't really climbing cats.
Yeah.
Climbers, I guess.
But for me, I'm just not a cat person. But I don't know. I just
To each their own. That
don't
should
have
probably
the
eat all your fish, bro.
yeah, probably. Well, the fish is outside, so this fish is safe.
You still got them outside?
Yeah, it's cold and it's good. Like, they've been outside all winter. So
Really?
yeah,
I would have thought they would have frozen.
yeah. Well, the top of the thing was frozen, but the bottom is not. So I have oxygen and things like that. So they actually do better outside, in my opinion. It's more of a naturalistic environment, you know.
Gotcha.
Like
Okay.
the fancy tail goldfish has always been outside, or koi fish, So what people do back in the ancient time is that they have like a goldfish, like a big bowl, like huge, right? And then
Yeah.
what they would do is they will put it in the living room, when the master or like the home master will see the guests. And every morning, because they will have a pound on the outside, like a like big pound with rocks and stuff. So the servant will go out and then they will get the fish inside of the bowl for the master to enjoy, for the royalties to enjoy, and after that they put it back into the pound.
Huh.
So they
Interesting.
like transfer it. So like they never really meant to live inside. At least the goldfishes are not, or koi fish are not. So,
Makes sense.
but they're outside still. So
Interesting.
yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, maybe I can put the dogs outside, but it's like, yeah, like my yard is probably big enough, but I don't know. I'm just thinking about it.
Yeah, but you got to think weather with that. Like if you don't have, shade, if you don't have water, like
Yeah.
there's a lot of dogs because we used to raise wolves when I was a kid,
Mm-hmm.
and they were outside all the time. It didn't really matter, like winter, summer, they just did their thing.
Yeah.
But we've also had a lot of like Nicole's dogs, the little rats.
Mm-hmm.
Like they couldn't handle being outside longer than like 20 minutes.
Right.
So
Right. So
depends on the kind of dog you get.
we'll see. Yeah, I'm thinking about more like a bigger one, because I'm thinking feed them like like raw food, so like they have to be able to chew, and then go outside, hike with me, or run, or walking meditation or something, you know. Mm. So we'll see.
Yeah, get yourself a mellow one, dude.
I
Match
know.
your personality.
I'm thinking about that. So I mean, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm still doing more research on it. So
Yeah.
maybe not. I'll say like 40% chance, probably. So
Fair enough.
yeah, cool. We're just not heads. Okay.
I hope you don't do video on this one then. Just sitting there like nodding at each other.
Hopefully you don't. We
Uh-huh.
don't do video on this one. I don't mind.
Uh-huh.
Audio is fine too. Uh, yeah, I mean, just doing dog research. So I guess how's your quarantine life? It's been like 2 days for you. The first day.
Yeah, well, give or take. I mean, we shut down Kroger yesterday, so
Right.
that was an adventure in and of itself.
Yeah.
Like, it's been a rough week. Like, I've torn down more events in 1 week than I ever have. But
3 of them? 4?
me personally, 3. As an office, we've torn down like 7
Yeah.
in just incremental days. But Costco shut down road shows this morning, so
So
like
Steve is out.
Rosie Crew's down,
Okay.
Steve's down, which is going to be interesting. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's expected.
Right.
Like once we lost, 3 retailers, like Costco, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, just going downhill from there. So
Yeah,
good.
but as we're just minimizing expenses, we're going to put the business in hibernation. But working with the other business owners in the org,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to be setting up conference calls and doing like Zoom meetings for leaders and new guys. So that way we can keep them engaged. But I mean, there's a lot of people that are just, I mean, it's just hunker down right now.
Yeah, and that's probably a good move. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, yeah. It'll be interesting because from what I understand, and I could be wrong on this because my information is like fourth person removed, but China was what, 50 days from, this is a problem to we're getting out of it. So
Yeah,
if
two
it takes a
months
full 2 months, then
probably.
we'll see
So
how it goes.
so like China, like my mom was telling me this yesterday. Like it was hunkering down like by a whole lot. Through some measures, and it was great. And then what happened was the U.S. started ramping up, the Europe started ramping up, so everybody started going back to China for relief. so
Yeah.
so what happened is right now, like Beijing started having more like transmissive cases because people are traveling back from the U.S. or from Italy. So
Hmm.
so they start quarantine about 2 months ago, and then they're probably going to still go like another month or so.
Yeah.
And here in the U.S., I'm thinking we're probably going to reach the climax in about 2 weeks, and then everything was shut down. Like New York and California, Illinois, Pennsylvania, they're all like shut down right now. So
Yeah.
we
Nothing
haven't hit peak
non-essential.
yet. Yeah. So
Well,
overall, just it is what it is.
yeah. It wouldn't be that big. Like honestly, the thing that's holding everyone back from getting into that mode is the fact that bills haven't frozen. I mean,
That's true.
the banks haven't stopped charging you for your mortgage. The power company's not going to stop charging you the um, you know bank for your car loan or whatever. Like they're like my office rent, for instance. Like I went
Mm-hmm.
and talked to Regis the other day because we got
Uh-huh.
the Regis suite, and they're like, well, we haven't shut down operations even though you have, so we're just going to keep charging you. And I'm like, that's $1,400 a month.
Right.
We can't do anything. Like you're literally just gonna just keep going until somebody gets coronavirus in the building and you got to shut the thing down, and then you might stop charging rent. Like
Right.
I don't know. I get it. They're in business too,
Mhm.
but if we're going to minimize the impact on this thing, then it's got to be at a place where people can survive without having income.
Right.
And right now that's just not happening. And let's be honest, like most people live paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
Like that's the reason that I'm going to go like work at like Sam's Club or Smith's or something like that, because my guys can't afford not to.
Right.
And from a leadership standpoint, it's I'm not going to ask them to do something that I'm not, you know.
Right.
But a lot of my guys, they can't survive without having a paycheck for that long.
That's true.
So if they don't have a place to go, or if they don't have savings, if they don't have a way to you know make it happen until then, it's for a lot of people, having income right now is survival.
Right.
And I get where people are coming from with, you got to quarantine in order to make this thing go away, but a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people are between a rock and a hard place on that.
Right. That's true. I'm not arguing with that.
So
So it is what it is. If they choose to work, then take precautions, I guess. Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
Right. So
And it's a personal decision for everybody, because everybody's situation is different. They're going to know their situation a lot better than I would. But like that's the stalemate that I see a lot of people in.
Yeah.
Because like this last year, I saved a lot of money. Like I put a lot away. I paid off a lot of debts. So I've minimized kind of my expenses. But, a lot of people haven't been that fortunate. A lot of people haven't been able to do that. And it's definitely a cultural thing from my standpoint because,
In terms of saving
America's
money.
never been. Yeah.
That's true.
We've never been exactly the saving, culture.
Yeah.
Haven't been for quite a while. Like I think the last time we had people that were really, diligent about saving money was back in the Depression, the 1920s, 1930s, and the people that were raised in that generation. But, we really haven't had something like that to that extreme in our generation or even a generation or two back.
Right.
So people don't know how to save money.
Yeah.
And that could be a whole nother podcast right there is finances and stuff like that. But
it's true.
One of the things that my goal this year was to be completely debt free by the end of the year. And this is kind of going to throw a wrench in the works, but most people, they just want to, it's keeping up with the Joneses. They want to make sure that they have the nicest cars or the nicest house and things like that, where, people don't think ahead to retirement anymore.
Right.
And and this is probably my personal opinion, take it or leave it, but, relying on a company to provide a retirement is something that you could do back in like the 60s, 70s, 80s.
Right.
Because that's when you had pensions and things like that. But pensions at this point aren't a thing. And if you're looking at a 401k and you think that's going to save you, then it's... my son just got out of the tub and he decided to run around stark naked. So
naked babies? Is that what he's yelling at?
Pardon all that for the viewers, but hey, Bugs, no, go get some clothes on, big guy. Naked baby. Yeah, you're a naked baby. Go put some clothes on, big guy. Nobody wants to see that.
It's funny.
But you can't rely on a 401k because guess where your 401k is?
Yep, tied to the market.
Stock market.
Yep.
Second that there's a recession, like 2009 was a prime example. So many people lost their retirement.
Right.
And God help you if you were 70 at that point in time, because you didn't have anything to fall back on. And that's why, like for me, I'm a huge believer in you got to start. You can't rely on other people for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like it's great if your company provides a 401k, if they do like a match or something like that. But if you don't have other options, if you don't have other, sources of income, then you're going to be screwed when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
And like where I grew up in a very impoverished town in southern Nevada, like a little podunk. And there were people who bought cat food rather than tuna because it was cheaper.
Right.
And they would eat cat food and dog food because that was all they could afford.
Right.
That was a reality when I was growing up, and seeing that and understanding what retirement looked like if you didn't plan ahead. I don't think that you can put your future in somebody else's hands. You got to take control of that.
That's true. Yeah. And then the biggest thing is, like the more that I dive into it, like I just set up my plan like a few months ago is that, like everybody can be rich, but you just need a longer runway. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's easy. So the longer your runway is, the better.
Yeah. If you don't even have to start with that much. Like,
yeah.
The beauty of compound interest is that if you leave it long enough, like you said, long enough runway, you can get rich. It's not about how much you make; it's about how much you keep. And, I hear people talk about that all the time. But one of my favorite, it was actually Richard Pryor. the comedian,
Mm-hmm.
and he was doing this skit, and he had a bottle of scotch that he
Mm-hmm.
always drank with, and he's like, you know why this bottle is in a decanter and not in the bottle is
Right.
because they don't pay me to drink it. But I'll be honest with you, this isn't your name brand. This isn't, like Dom Palm or, whatever. But he's like, this is, store brand, Costco
Mm-hmm.
brandy right here. And I get it for $10 a liter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not spending 50, 60, $70 on this. I'm getting $10 a liter. And
Mm-hmm.
it tastes great.
Right.
And then, he takes a sip, and I'm like, that's so true.
Yeah.
And so many people don't realize that because, we talk about, $100,000, $100,000 after taxes is 60 grand.
Right.
Tax bracket is like 40% of that level.
Mm-hmm.
And, then you have your car, you have gas, you have utilities. Like 100 grand don't go that far.
Right.
If you want to really be wealthy long term, it's either you've got to make more or you got to save more. Those are your
Yeah.
options.
True. Very true.
But, in America, like credit card debt, most families have at least $50,000 in credit card debt. And we're talking about unsecured. That's 18 to 25% interest.
Mm-hmm.
That's something you're not getting out of. And then you throw student loans on top of that too. Like the average graduate right now has over $150,000 in student loans.
Right.
You look at the math, and the interest rates on that is higher than you can pay off within 40 years. So
Right.
you get a 4-year degree, not even a master's, not a doctorate, like nothing fancy, just a 4-year bachelor's. And
Mm-hmm.
you're in debt for your entire working life.
Yeah. It's true.
Like, how do you justify that?
Right. Very true. So I guess it just yeah, I totally agree that it is a cultural thing, how to save money, how do you make sure that you have enough plan for the next week, and then yeah, I feel like this is a wake up call for like most people, to be honest,
Yeah,
and it's
hopefully.
yeah, hopefully, right, and hopefully people can like start taking some actions and whatnot because like it's what it is, so
Yeah. But let's be honest, most people won't.
right,
Like
it's
when it
true,
comes down to it, it's going to be a very small percentage of the population that is like, holy shit, this is real.
yeah,
And they see the dire situation that they live in.
mm-hmm.
Because most jobs, even if you're making $15, $20 an hour, like $15 an hour, I'd say is pretty good as far as a working wage for Utah. I
Mm-hmm.
know for some states that's their minimum wage, which is, a whole nother topic entirely. But
Right.
$15 an hour, 40 hours a week, that's $600 a week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's barely gonna get you by, and that's pre-tax. So
Right.
you're talking about living on $400 a week.
Mm-hmm.
Like most people's car payment is higher than that.
Right.
And it's that's why I got into being an entrepreneur in the first place, why I wanted to be a business owner, is because when I was going through and I worked 3 jobs at one point to
Mm-hmm.
make $50,000 a year, which at the time I thought was great money.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to the end of the year, I didn't have anything to show for it.
Right.
And that's when I realized that $50,000 ain't shit. Like it's nothing.
Yeah.
And if you want to be in control of those situations, you have to be able to determine what your income should be.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way to do that is either sales or own a business.
Right.
Because if you work on a salary, like my sister, she works for, Goldman. She makes like 75 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And, she's happy doing that. But, you know, her job is in jeopardy every day. It's not something where she can say for sure, this is exactly what's going to be happening 10 years from now.
Right.
Where if you learn how to bring value to a marketplace, which is really what entrepreneurship is all about. It's delivering a product or service
Mm-hmm.
in exchange for money.
Right.
You want to make more money, you just bring more value to the marketplace.
Right.
And once you learn how to do that, it doesn't matter if you've got a structure. Like, I love our organization because it gives you an infrastructure to work in, especially if you're a first-time entrepreneur. Like, that's huge. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
was reading a book by Damon John, I believe his name is. He's one of the sharks on
Yep.
Shark Tank.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Fubu,
He's having a
and he was
new
talking
book
about,
coming out.
huh?
Yeah, they're gonna have a new book coming out called Power Shift.
Yeah. I'm excited about that, actually. I like this book. The one that I read was Rise and Grind,
Yeah.
and he tells stories about entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And one of them was, and the names escape me, but it was a guy that he was a professional football player, an NFL player,
Right.
and you know he loves cooking, so he wanted to open a restaurant. After he got out of the NFL, instead of opening a restaurant right off the bat, he went and bought into a franchise with, you know, the one of those mail places,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like the mail drop kind of thing, where it does like FedEx and UPS and all that stuff. And he got into a franchise because they taught him how to run a business,
Right.
so that he had that safety, he had that infrastructure. And then after he got the hang of it, he went and started his restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, you know, took off with it. But, you know, that's why I love our business, is because it gives you an infrastructure to work in.
Right.
It teaches you how to do it. And then if you want to go do something else with it, absolutely go for it. But having that experience and having that training is where most entrepreneurs fail the first, you know, they say first 3 businesses are going to fail. It's because those are your learning curves.
Right.
Everybody has them. It's always going to be that way. But if you have a support system to work in, you get over those learning curves a lot faster because you got resources, you got backup, you got, you know, people that'll help you do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you learn a skill set, the skill set is yours. You can do whatever you want.
Right. Very cool. So is your sister working from home right now, or? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Cool.
Has been for the last couple of weeks.
Okay.
But yeah, she does something with credit cards and applications and stuff like that. It's something it's like the Apple credit card. It's confidential. She won't tell me all the details. But yeah, they've had them working from home, and there's not much work right now, honestly, which is good for her because she's on salary. But you know, at the same time, like, longer this thing stretches out, the longer it's gonna take for, you know, them to bounce back too.
That's true.
But
I was speaking of Apple. I was looking at the new iPad. It actually looks pretty sweet. So, and
oh yeah,
the new iPad Pro, and what's cool about them, I think you're gonna like this because it can give you a cursor, so you can connect your mouse to it, and then the keyboard pad it has a touchpad. So
nice.
Joe use it as like a laptop. I was like, yeah, I don't do much stuff on my laptop. And Chrome. I can totally do it on an iPad, and then it floats like a case. Like it's a magnetic case, so it can float. So you can walk around. I was like, they got me. So it's like cool. Like
Yeah,
I'm not a big fan of like Apple, but like that design is pretty slick. I think it's slicker than the Surface Pro. And I was like,
yeah.
okay, cool. Next time.
I've always been more of a laptop guy myself. Like, I'd rather have, you know, because the thing that I need is computing power,
Yeah.
and that's the one thing that tablets can't do, is it doesn't have the kind of computing power that, I mean, it'll get to that point, I'm sure, but for the time being, I'll stick with my laptop. But I use my iPad all the time. I love it. I use it for certain things. It's terrible for other things, but you know, it's all about options.
That's why I like the cursor. I think it's going to be a game changer because Apple is always going to be the second to the like the Surface Pro line. Like they find a hybrid situation, and Apple just came in and yesterday just said, hey, I can do it better, and it's got me impulse for sure. So I'm so So I went down a rabbit hole on like iPads too. So I was like, okay, cool. Maybe I'll get
Oh
one.
goodness.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Gadget guy. So that's what it is. Listening to,
Good stuff.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So cool.
All right.
Anything else?
I think we talked ourselves out, Kev.
The same time I started about? Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Not bad. So we're gonna put a pen to this first, and then I'm gonna try to see if I can retrieve the video or turn it into all audio. It should be pretty easy, and then we go from there. So
Sounds good.
all
Well,
right.
thank you for having me on the podcast, man. I loved it.
Thank you for joining me. It's been a couple of years, but yeah, you finally got on. Are you?
Well, if I knew it was this easy, would have done more of them sooner. But I'd love to be back on whenever we get a chance.
Cool. Are you gonna be quarantine for a couple of days, or what's your plan for the next?
I'm gonna be calling on Monday to set up an interview with Sam's and see where we go from there.
All right. Cool.
It'll be interesting.
All right. Good stuff. Cool.
All right.
Happy weekend, everybody. We're signing off.
See you later.